Hello and welcome to Unit 7, Parking. There are three kinds of parking. There's angle parking, perpendicular parking, and parallel parking, your favorite and mine. And on the road test, the parallel parking is mandatory, so you can't get out of it. I will tell you about the parallel parking in just a moment. I'm going to start with the easiest kind of parking first, and we'll go from there. Okay, this is angle parking. Okay? Now, in angle parking, cars are angled like that, of course, hence the name. And the first thing to remember is, as you're coming down this row, if you're going to the right, you want to go to the left as far as you can so that you can turn easily. And the other thing to remember is, let me move it up. As you're coming up, you see your spot, you want to start turning your wheel as soon as you're even with the car before you. So you turn your wheel right about the time that you get to the car before you and slip it in, okay? That's probably the easiest kind of parking of the three. You turn your wheel when you get to the car before you. Now, it's the same deal if I'm going from the opposite direction, okay? Here's my cars. All right. And since I'm going to the left, I'm going to go to the right as far as I can. And as soon as my wheel is even with that back bumper of the car before where I'm parking, I turn it and I go in like that. Okay, that's angle parking. Okay. Now I think that parallel parking's the next difficult. I don't think it's the hardest of the three. I know it's on your test, but I'll show you this. Now, for parallel parking, the first thing you want to remember is, well, first of all, on the road test, when you take parallel parking, there's only two ways to fail it. Number one, you hit the other car. Oops, okay. Okay, you're the replacement. You hit the other car. That's one way of failing the parallel parking. The other way is, as you're backing up, if you hit the curb, that's only a point. But when you're up against the curb and you're feeling it hitting and you're feeling resistance, and you're like, okay, what do I do? Okay, I know what I'll do. I'll hit the gas as hard as I can, over the curb. Over the curb is the other way of failing the road test. So hit the car. Okay, you're the replacement. Okay. Hit the car or go over the curb. Those are your only two ways of failing the parallel parking. So, as we come up to our car, I have my students put on their hazards, my hazard flashers, because those don't turn off no matter how much I'm turning the wheel. So I come up right about here with my hazard flashers on, about a car door length away, and I turn my wheels all the way. I'm going to move it down. I turn my wheels all the way to the right, and I turn it all the way until my wheel stops, which is about 2.5 turns. So as I'm turning back like this, right about here, when this front bumper is even with that bumper, I turn the wheel completely the other way around until it stops the other way, about 2.5 turns the other way. I slip it in like that, and I can adjust it back and forth if I have to. And right about there is a good spot. So, when I do my parallel parking, I get about an arm and a half away, or a door length away, door and a half length away from the other car. I turn my wheel completely around, my steering wheel completely around until it stops. And as I back up, it's turning, and when my front bumper is even with their back bumper, I turn the wheel completely the other way until it stops, and I just turn it and slip it in like that. Okay? That's parallel parking. Now the other one, the last one, is perpendicular parking. And it looks like this. Okay? I'm going to use this guy as a decoy there. All right. Now, as I am perpendicular parking, like angle parking, I want to be as far to the opposite direction as I can. I want to be as far over as I can. So as soon as I see my front bumper is even with their back, that's when I start turning my wheel. I turn it real sharply. Okay? So as soon as my front is even with their back, I turn it. Okay? If I do it too late, I'm over here. If I do it too early, I'm here. Okay? So as soon as the front bumper is even with their back, right about there, I start turning it like that. Okay? And it's the same going the other way. The same going the other way. Okay? As soon as my front bumper is even with their back, I start turning it right there. Now, one more thing about angle. When you're leaving your spot, You back up until your front bumper is even with their back bumper, right there. And then I start turning my wheel and backing up. If I turn my wheel too early, key job. If I turn it too late, I'm in the other traffic over there. So, turning my wheel when my front bumper is even with their back bumper, I'm good to go. Okay? So that was angle parking, perpendicular parking, and parallel parking. That was Unit 7.